Okay, hello everybody. How are you today? My name is Nazir and I am from Acre in Iraq. And today's lesson I'm going to show you what is translation, what is the definition of translation, what are, let's say, the definition of translator, who is translator, and what are the strategies of this process, which is translation. First of all, let's begin with the definition of translation. What is the translation? What is the process of translation? Now, as a general definition, the translation is a process of changing words from one language into another language, especially in the source language into the target language. For example, if you have two languages, English language and Kurdish language, for example, and you translate it from the English language to Kurdish language, this is what I mean by translating. So the translating, of course, the translating words to words, or translating speech as a human, when we transfer the message or the speech into the target language. This is what I mean by translation. After that, who is translator and what is the definition of translator? Translator is a person, or let's say machine, whose job is translator, especially as a profession. Whose job is translating words or speech into from one language into the target language. This is what I mean by translator. Now we have some certain strategies. We usually use it during this process of translation, which are borrowing and definition and omission. The first one is called borrowing. What do we mean by borrowing? Borrowing, when we, for example, when we have, for example, two speech or two paragraphs, or let's say when you translate a book from one language into another, for example, an English language to a Kurdish language, for example. So in this case, as we know, English language is the science language, of course. So there could be some certain terminologies or terms or vocabularies that they don't have in the certain language or the target language. For example, if we have something like computer, right? Or we can say, for example, we have something like mobile. Usually, these words, in this case, we don't have words, or we don't have the same word in the target language. We know the computer is an English word. We don't have in other languages. So in this case, we have to use this strategy as a borrow. We have to borrow or bring it from the source language into the target language. For example, in mobile, we don't have it in Kurdish language. So now we, as a Kurdish language, we use it in our daily life, and we have it in Kurdish dictionaries, of course. And the same thing with computer. However, in this case, we have some exceptions. For example, in Arabic language, they name it computer as a hasu. So, of course, as a human, we are not, let's say, every one of us are not complete. So, in this case, let's say, we have to borrow from the source language into target language. And of course, we have some other terminologies, for example, and they are common, of course. For example, if you go through Indian language, through Spanish language, all of them they call computer, they call mobile. They know what do you mean. It's a common phrase, and all of them they are understanding you. What do you mean? And we have any other let's say terminology. For example, we have virus. Virus. All of us know what's virus. Yeah. And the second strategy, if we follow it, is definition. Now, in this strategy, what do we mean by definition? Definition is, let's say, describing something when something is ambiguous. Okay. Now, by definition, as we said, we have to define the word that is, let's say, not clear for the reader. Yeah, for someone who reads your text in the target language. Whenever you hear some ambiguous word, some strange word, you have to put it into two brackets or two slashes and define it. What do you mean by this word? Maybe the reader will not understand. For example, in Arabic language, you have, for example, you have something like mufti, right? Mufti. The reader, or let's say native speaker of English language, they don't know what do you mean by mufti. What is mufti? So in this time, for example, you will say mufti, you will open a bracket, let's say like a bracket or slash, you will define it, which is an Islamic scholar. You have to define it in order to be understood by the reader. So this is what we mean by definition. And we have the third type of strategy, which is omission. And now, what do we mean by omission? Omission, when you, let's say, leave something, when you cancel something, when you delay something, you just ignore it. Yeah. So, for example, in Arabic language, we have some certain terminologies. For example, a common greeting in Arabic language is Sabahukum Allahu bil khair. Sorry, forgive me, people, please, because my handwriting in Arabic language is not very clear, so forgive me for that. So now, in this case, we have to use this strategy. Sawahakum Allah bil khair means good morning in English language, right? In this case, good morning is enough. It is enough. They understand what do you mean. They are greeting, let's say you greet on him, good morning, Sabah al khair, or you have it in Arabic language, Sabah al khair, so Masa al Nur, right? Good evening. So in this case, we use this strategy. Or we have, this is what meant by omission. As we said, for example, we have mufti in Arabic language, and you wanted to translate it into English language. So the reader will not understand what do you mean by mufti. You have to use one of the strategies of translation. So you will use the third one, which is omission. You will you will define it. You will let's say use this strategy, the second strategy. You will define what you are doing by mufti. Okay, and we have something else. For example, in Arabic language or in English language, you have BBC, right? BBC, right? So, is it possible if you translate it into Arabic language, B and C? I think it's not possible. So the reader will not understand. He doesn't know what do you mean by BBC. It's impossible. In this case, you have to let's say you have to give it the full writing. For example, you will say Hay'at al-Idara al-Baritani, for example. Hay'at al-Idara al-Baritani. Yeah. So you will give the full writing in order to be understood by a reader. And of course, we have some strategies, some other strategies. but I choose the most important one, the most important of them. I put 3 of strategies, and hopefully you got understand it. And thank you for having me, and have a good